So yeah, so you're in my eyes, uh, you're great at networking. I mean, from what I've seen, the people you've been around, and as you're saying right now about you finding these people, and you can recognize these key characteristics in these people. Um, what? Tell me about your view of networking. What's the importance of it? How do you do it? What is your way of doing it? Even just how do you reach out to somebody?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I want to preface that, in my opinion, networking it has a totally different meaning than what all these people and all these types of groups talk about. They're like, oh, hand your business card, go network, go do all these events. That's like total bullshit to me. What I think and what I value networking is building relationships. And those are non monetary. I'm not asking, I'm not wanting anything from them. And maybe that comes from a little bit of a biblical place in my life and kind of that religious, some of those religious core values I have. But basically, to me, networking is this, right? I see people out in the world who that I want to be like or want to be in my life, and then I just try to go out and make them my friends. I don't network with any ill intentions. I have some friends, and I have a lot of people that I know who have insane amounts of money. I've never asked them for anything. I will offer to pay for their dinner, even though they may have a net worth of $100 million.
Yeah,
So for me, it's I've just valued more so not networking with an end goal in mind or networking with an ulterior motive, but networking just to have a level of friends or a level of network that's just high and elevated. And that's my whole opinion. It's just kind of like I want to make friends. I don't want to network. So to me, I don't really like the word network. That's kind of like I understand the point and the purpose of the word, but to me, it's a negative connotation. I love the word making friends, and I actually was really intrigued that you picked that out because I honestly feel like out of a lot of things I do, that is a skill of mine and something that I've kind of developed over years, right? So that's kind of what it means is just to make friends with the types of people you admire or the types of people you want to surround yourself. And that's it. That's kind of like what networking means to me.
so yeah, that's great. It's interesting that you bring up, and it's cool to hear about the faith. That's awesome. I think that even just the verse "iron sharpens iron," right? I mean, that's so important to have that in your life. Oh, there's my dog. Try to get them to chill out, so excuse them if they start going
Oh,
nuts.
you're good.
But that's something that I think not a lot of people focus on. They don't focus on the relationship. Whether you're in sales, you're trying to do anything. Like we met in the CCV group with Rob, um, and it's all about trying to connect with people. Like I remember listening to a podcast with him and George Bryant, who is a pretty sweet marketer himself. It's like just like hit up the people that follow you on Instagram and send them a message, like shoot them a video, like their stuff back, talk to them, build a relationship. I think that's number one. It all falls down to that personal relationship you can build with somebody.
Exactly. And what changed my perspective and kind of gave me the confidence to move forward in networking and kind of reaching out to some of those people that you might be intimidated by, even is I don't know where I heard this, so I don't know where the credits due, but early on, maybe 10 years ago when I was probably 16, 17, I heard this quote and it was saying something like, anyone in the world is within 7 contacts of who you know. And I don't know where I heard that. And ever since then, it's kind of been like, oh, it really is a small world, right?
Yep.
So there's that aspect. But, most of and that kind of changed my mind and shifted. And it's like, it's kind of true, especially with the people that I know today. It's like outside of maybe, like a president or a monarch or a dictator, I mean, really anyone in the United States is probably within 7 contacts of somebody that I know, which is awesome to think about. So that kind of got my mind to just being like, okay, well, people and everyone's a person. Nobody's a god. Nobody's like untouchable or invincible. You can always contact people, especially if you're picking people that you admire, you look up to. I wouldn't want to network with somebody that I don't like or somebody that I don't respect. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. So when you're trying to make, like you say, make friends, that's the way you like to word it.
Yeah.
How do you go about reaching out to these people? Is it social media? Is that just your go-to?
Yeah. So I actually got a good story for this. And let me preface it with this, right? If you're trying to network, you're trying to meet people who are of high caliber, but you haven't developed yourself, you don't have good integrity, you're out to get something, you want something of them, you're expecting something from them. These people are like bullshit detectors. So if you try to approach somebody with that type of character traits and that integrity and you want something from them, they will never give you the time of day. And if you do get the chance to meet them, you'll blow it, right? So the first thing is there's a couple process to this, right? So the first thing is develop yourself into the type of person that they want to surround themselves with. And that doesn't, and here's the thing that throws most people off. They think in order to hang out with successful people, they have to be some successful person, has a lot of money, has some big brand, but that's actually not true. And I've realized that I've met a lot of friends who are extremely wealthy before I even had a business. And it comes down to this philosophy, right? Real recognizes real, right? And depending on what age group that you're trying to network or make friends with, let's just assume you're 25 or 30 and you're trying to make friends with somebody who's in their 40s. If you're super ambitious, you have good character traits, you have integrity, that person may look at you as a younger version of themselves, right? So what I'm saying and what I'm trying to get the point at is don't try to approach these people if you have ulterior motives, you want something from them, if you're trying to pitch them a business, trying to ask them for investments, you're not a good person, you haven't developed yourself, you haven't spent enough time actually like literally working on personal development, personal growth, spiritually, physically, mentally, and you're not that type of person. So that's the prerequisite to even reaching out to these people because they're not going to want you, right? It's kind of like trying to go for a 10 when you're dating. Like if you're trying to go to the hottest girl and you don't have good style, you don't look, you're overweight, you don't have any money. It's like, of course, they're not going to want anything to do with you.
Yeah.
But the great thing about successful people is that they just want people around them that genuinely want to be around them, not because of their money or not because of their status, but because they actually care about them, that don't want anything from them, that kind of relays into that. And then somebody that they can just hang out with and have a good time, right? So it's really interesting. And basically, here's like the story of how I kind of like my biggest networking moment, right? So I had a lot of networking things early on, right? So when I was 17, I started to make friends with these like influencer bodybuilders. So my first job actually came from Rich Piana. He was a bodybuilder who passed away, right?
Dude, that's
I
so cool.
networked and I got the chance to meet him. And then I was the first person at his company, literally the first
No
employee at
way.
that company.
Are
Yeah.
you
So I was
serious?
friends with him. Yeah, I was friends with him. And it was cool. We got to work out. We got to go to Chipotle together a couple times. Like really good dude. And that was like my first opportunity was because I networked for that position, right?
That's
And
nuts.
all I did was make friends with them. I didn't ask for anything. I never asked for anything. So from then I went to, I just kept living life. I kept networking. I kept meeting cool people. But the thing that really clicked and kind of, I guess, set my life on a trajectory. And here's the best story for this, right? So basically, I don't know what it was, but I had always been a customer of bodybuilding.com, right? Bodybuilding.com was a huge company when I was growing up. I think maybe a $500 million revenue company, big company, right? And I don't know, I don't know how I found it, but I found the owner on Facebook one day, right? Maybe, I don't know, maybe like in my early 20s, maybe like 23, 22, right? No, earlier than that, like 21. I found the owner of bodybuilding.com on Facebook. Yeah, he posts on his Facebook page, had a lot of followers, had a lot of friends, right? But I was like, I don't know what it is about this guy, but I want to meet him. He lives in Boise, Idaho. He's not in Hollywood, Los Angeles. Net worth is probably $500 million. Very relatable, down to earth guy. And I was like, I want to meet this guy. So I started posting on his like Facebook. I would just say, hey man, I would like the chance to meet with you, just like any of you probably should. But I didn't get a reply. Like probably 6 months went by, didn't get a reply, and I would frequently hit him up, and I would be like, hey. I don't want anything from you. I just want a chance to have lunch. I'll buy you lunch, even though I didn't really have any money or anything. I'll sit down with you. I just want to just get to know you, right? So I just kept doing this, and I didn't hear anything. And then maybe like about 8 months after that initial contact, I posted on his actual Facebook page, and I was like, "Hey, I'm 22 or 21, whatever it is. I look up to you as an entrepreneur. I really want the chance to just meet you and have lunch with you or something. Like, don't want anything from you." I posted it publicly though. So what ended up happening, which was crazy, was all of his friends saw that I posted on his Facebook profile. So his real friends in real life, the friends in his hometown, they started liking and commenting on my posts. Like, oh, you should meet with this guy. You should do it. And I was like, I wasn't even expecting that. I was
That's
just posting
wild.
it so people could see it. So it got to the point where the post had, 40 comments, 100 something likes, and it was just his actual friends. It wasn't people that I knew. So eventually he just messaged me and he was like, hey, We're going to be doing this event for my next business in Boise, Idaho. Come down, you know. And I was like, done, literally done. He didn't pay for my fly. He didn't pay for anything. Of course not. Like, you don't expect it to, but I just had that feeling like, hey, I want to be friends with this person because obviously he seems like a good dude, knows a lot more than I have, I do. Obviously, super successful type of person I want to have in my life. His name's Ryan DeLuca. So that's what happened. He basically DM'd me after getting all this craziness from all these people. He let it go on for 2 weeks of all these comments and things building up before he reached out to me. And it was crazy, right? And I'd never been to Boise, Idaho. I lived in California at the time, but so I didn't know. It was just the middle of nowhere, potatoes, no difference in Iowa. So I knew nothing about it. So I flew out there, got to meet him, got to meet his team at his current venture, which is Black Box VR. And yeah, just super it was just such a super gratifying experience because you just got welcomed like with open arms and like somebody who really like down to earth person who that first time I met him, we literally went out with a couple of his friends downtown Boise. He bought me bottle service the first time I met him. Like crazy experience, but just it was just different, right? We became friends. And the reason I say that is not just because I met a cool guy, but this is the crazy part. So after I met him and Boise, Idaho was on my radar, I sorry, I'm just gonna drink real quick, but
yeah, you're good, man.
This is the coolest part, right? So from networking and me taking this time and just not giving up on this networking opportunity, I traveled to Boise, got to stay there for a few days, and then maybe about a year and a half later, I got fired from my job. I basically had to start over. I had no money. I blew all my money that I was making, and I was like in probably the lowest point in my life. Right, I was just living back at home with my parents. I think I was 20, either 21 or 22. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. Essentially, I was just like, I just got out of a terrible breakup. Like I said, I got fired from my job. I blew all my savings. My first company was a failure. You know, the supplements that I'd mentioned prior. And I was like, I just need to get away. I just need to get away from all this because there's nothing here right now except heartbreak and just kind of disappointment. So I don't know what made me do it, but I picked up all my stuff, put it all in my car, grabbed my dogs. We drove down to Boise, Idaho, and I moved there sight unseen I just went on Craigslist, found somebody who was subleasing their apartment. It was a little studio, and I was like, I don't know why, but I'm moving here. So crazy story. And then here's the best part. So before meeting Ryan, Boise, Idaho was not on my radar at all. And then after meeting him, I was like, I just want to be there. And that's where I met my wife. So
wow,
crazy.
Gotta work some mysterious ways, dude.
Yes, exactly. So God definitely works in mysterious ways. And that's the whole point of that. Obviously, there's a lot of networking stories I have, but that one super special to me.
Life-changing.
Because my wife primarily, yeah.
Dude, it is crazy when you look back at life and you think, you just connect the dots, just how it all panned out, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. And Steve Jobs kind of has this quote. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but he says you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots when you look back. So I think that's an interesting kind of idea. Yeah, idea just to kind of throw in your head because you can't really make everything and plan every detail, and you have to just kind of let like good decisions kind of get mixed in there with luck and opportunity and unknowns, and those can kind of, as long as you're ready for it and you're open and you're the type of person at the right time, I think yeah, you can come across some amazing things.